live from the city. This is the High Valuation Code with Matteo Turi.
And a very good morning or afternoon to everybody watching today. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we are on week 17 of our High Valuation Code. And I think that today marks an important milestone because we completed the first major section of the High Valuation Code. Welcome, Matteo. How are you?
Hi, thank you very much. Thank you, Francisco, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here as usual.
Excellent. So let's do a recap of what happened so far and what is coming next, because I think it's important. By the way, we are basing all this information. Today, we are going to develop, particularly in the book Fail, Pivot, Scale, page 141 and forward is a section 3 of the book, all about intellectual property, leadership, governance, and trust. And as a reminder, the series follows 4 strategic stages that transform the business from something that simply operates into something that commands premium valuation. And it's all about valuation. And even if you don't have a valuation in terms of exiting the business, it's good to know exactly where you are and what is the capability of your business to be valued as in the coming future. So the stages that we are working through are 4. The first one is fundability and value foundations. The second one is leadership, governance, and trust. The third one is scale, capital, and resilience. And the fourth one is exit, enterprise value, and deal execution. And this is very important because actually there are many things that actually are not known for you as a founder, or how to put your company in the best position and yourself to achieve all these business outcomes. So over the past 3 weeks, what we explore are questions that investors ask. And this is very important because sometimes you assume a lot of things, but actually what investors ask is the things that you leave you with these kind of answers that you go like, well, will happen, won't happen, or when you receive these 2 words that are very hard to digest, which is not interested. So what's going on in their minds? So we try to unpack this to make sure that you preempt those questions, so the not interested converts into a meaningful conversation for you and investors. So 3 weeks ago, we talked about why good businesses still run into trouble. You can check that in our profiles, all the full webinar. 2 weeks ago, we covered why funding opportunities disappear. Right? So even if your revenue is good, why you are not investable? And last week, we covered a very, very hidden gem in your organization, which is the invisible intellectual property that most founders fail to recognize. And perhaps this is sitting there in front of you, but is so normal, or has been normalized so much that actually you don't recognize the value of that intellectual property. So that is the stage 1. Now, revenue, but no revenue volume, revenue design. What is this about? Sophisticated investors are not impressed by how much revenue exists today. They focus on whether that revenue can still exist tomorrow, right? So, sorry, Matteo, it's not an introduction, but actually it's a good context to understand where we are sitting today and where this conversation is going to go. So the question is, why is revenue design is one of the biggest drivers of valuation?
Yeah, he's talking about designing revenue. It's not just about, selling something that
exactly, yes.
you happen to have as a product in your business. I mean, revenue is going to be valuable only when you really can rely on it, because revenue that is low quality tends to not happen, tends to not recur, okay? But revenue that is got high quality tends to recur, tends to be standardized, tends to really have the repeatability, that predictability that investors are looking for. Because investors are not really purchasing the sales of last year. They're not really looking at financial statements. It's like, well, you sold last year, you're gonna okay, I'm going to buy that. They are actually purchasing confidence in the future cash flow. They are purchasing confidence that your sales are going to be there also in the future. So that's why high quality revenue matters so much. And that's why confidence really comes from structure. The business that depends on one individual, for example, for the sales, a handful of relationship or unpredictable projects creates uncertainty. And now,
Right,
obviously, uncertainty is what really is going to create low bankability, low investability, and generally speaking, low wealth creation as well. That's why when we talk about valuation, we also talk
mm,
about wealth creation today.
right,
It's not something that you delegate to the future. High valuation strategy, they are designed so that you can create wealth today.
right,
A business that is built on system, built on contracts, repeatable delivery, creates really the right confidence, creates
right,
the right predictability, let's call it like that,
right, right,
the right resilience as well, and the right optionality. Because let's say valuation is simply the financial expression of confidence, but it's not something that happens immediately, just as a miracle. You need to
mm,
designing. Now, the greater the confidence, obviously, the higher the multiple. Yeah.
right, right. So perhaps the real question is not whether revenue exists. Uh, the real question is whether revenue survives, right? So when we often hear founders talking about growth, but investors are probably talking about durability, not actually how much you grow your company, but how can you sustain that growth or scaling the company. And that leads to a test, if you may. If the founders stepped away tomorrow, would the revenue continue? And but this is an interesting case because actually I've been studying last week 40 companies in the US in a particular niche. And many of these companies are coming back from the 1800s. So they're fourth generation, fifth generation, but actually all stays, and they cannot sell it, but that's a big challenge that they have, all of them. They cannot sell it because all is reside in the family and is very tight, not knitted in the family, and it cannot be transferred. So, and remarkably, many of the contracts, you mentioned contracts, security there, many of the contracts are verbal contracts because actually they are doing business with other similar companies that they know each other for generations. So they are doing business together, but actually there's nothing on paper. So pretty much the big question is, if this family sells, how they are going to guarantee the revenues? Because actually the newcomers, who are they? They don't have these 30, 40 years experience or relationship at the back end that they, the old way, they in the shake hand, they close the deal. So there is no certainty in terms of payment or recurrent uh, jobs or works or contracts, etc. So again, so if the founder step away tomorrow, what would the revenue continue, particularly in these kind of cases?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, exactly. What you're mentioning is the problem we see so many times over. So
Mm,
many businesses that mistake two things, They mistake sales performance with
right.
revenue quality. Two different things,
Yeah.
Quality of revenue does not depend on how much you sold. The company can have an impressive sales but still be fragile
Right.
because what investors examine is resilience. So that's why when you create wealth, you need to create it in a manner that will make your business bankable and investable as well.
Right. Right.
That means, being much stronger commercially now, not when you decided you need capital.
Right. Right.
Really, that's why the high valuation triangle is designed to ensure that you create wealth today.
Yeah.
Although the word valuation might mean that you're looking at the future, but no, it's about really designing today. So there are essentially two forms of revenue.
Right.
Number one, revenue that relies on people, and number two, revenue that relies on systems. So only one of those creates long-term valuation. And of course, it's going to be revenue that relies on system. Yeah.
Right, right. So if you can, to make it is practical, when investors encounter founder-dependent revenue, what do they actually see?
That's where the signs are usually obvious because customer they buy because of the founder. The pricing changes from one deal to another one, so there's
Right.
no standardization. For example,
Yeah.
key knowledge exists in people's head, but not in the business system.
Right.
The processes are not documented. The relationships will substitute the system.
Right.
So every time, it's not about what system are generating revenue, but what relationship are generating revenue.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
nothing is truly transferable, which is really going to kill the investability of your business.
Right.
Now, that's where investor immediately recognize this risk because if the founder leaves, the revenue may leave as well.
Right.
That's when risk increases or valuation falls.
Yeah.
And that's why we come into a situation where the business is deemed to be worthless sometimes, or not valuable, or if there's any value, the value is heavily discounted.
Right. So, right. So that's the founder dependency it's not just simply an operational issue. It's a valuation issue then. So perhaps an even bigger issue today because of what many call the great tsunami. So it's all these generations that actually are exiting because for whichever reason, mostly because there's no succession plan. So they're approaching retirement while hoping to exit business that remain heavily dependent of them. Yeah, that's not a good idea. Speaking about good ideas or bad ideas, what about introducing the book, Matteo, with the trailer? I think it's a 90-second trailer to introduce a book, and I think this is the right time to show what is a book about and which is the content.
Yeah, thank you, Francisco. Okay, well, let's give way to these 90 seconds. I mean, the book, though it comes back from a 2017 experience with the University of Plymouth. At that time, I wrote the system that you will find on the book, the high valuation triangle.
Yeah.
Today, we're living in a world that is really asking for immediate resolution on a number of issues. I would say three of them in particular. Number one, we live in intangible economy,
Right.
where, according to the latest research, 92% of the market value of businesses is intangible. The second one is AI is rewriting valuation, is rewriting wealth creation as well. And number three, there's an unprecedented wave of capital, private capital, looking to invest in businesses. The estimate is about 10 extra trillion dollars in the next 48 months, not in the next decades or so.
Right.
That's unprecedented. So, yeah, welcome the projection of this trailer. As we mentioned before, the book has 26 scorecard against which you can measure your business every day, every year, every decade. So yeah, welcome these 90 seconds, and maybe we'll see you soon after that. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Excellent. So, Fail, Pivot, Scale is the book. You can find it in Amazon. As I mentioned, we're not going to repeat it again, but actually you can download it also in Kindle if you are keen to that. So, coming back to the question that we asked earlier, so we mentioned that founders approaching retirement while hoping their exit remain heavily dependent on them. It probably is not. Well, it's probably seen more common than actually it shouldn't. And this is a big problem in today's valuation and exit of this great tsunami, as they call it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Many owners, they spend decades building successful businesses, but they never build transferable
Right,
business. Transferability is fundamental because that's what creates valuation, and it's not something you make it happen in one moment. It's something you design for many years. Uh, Now compare that with system-led revenue.
yeah,
System-led revenue is supported by a number of features, supported by standardized offers, the repeatable processes, contractual frameworks, recurring income models, and teams that operate independently. So this is all about transferability. It's about creating transferability. Because
right.
in that environment, the revenue will survive leadership change, will continue regardless. That's what really makes a business valuable and investable.
Right.
And that changes everything from a valuation perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and which bring us to one of your recurring messages: acquires purchase systems. So it's not like they are going by they you as an owner, they buy the systems that you laid out in your organization to do all these things, regardless of who is managing them. So they do not purchase personalities, as they say. And perhaps this explains why so many businesses struggle to secure funding despite a healthy turnover, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what makes it also mysterious. When you go to a bank and they say no,
Mm.
the last couple of weeks we were talking about why capitals say no.
Yeah,
Because this is where, unfortunately, what happens is that, you think that your personality is gonna substitute what they're looking for. They are looking for something else. They're looking for
yeah,
system. They're looking for a business that works without you.
yeah.
And let me introduce what I call the revenue architecture blueprint. There
Right.
are four structural layers the investor examine
Yeah, please. Yeah.
effectively. And the layer number one is revenue type. Is the income transactional or is it recurring? Okay, so revenue type. And
Yeah.
revenue that is recurring creates predictability. So
Right.
that's important. Yeah, is the revenue transactional or recurring?
Yeah.
Um, the layer two is about revenue consistency. Can the company deliver all the time, week after week, month after month? Can you deliver the same outcome repeatedly? Or does every engagement start from scratch?
Right.
That's what creates scalability, okay? So consistent means, you're scalable now. And another very important question to be answered. Let's look at the other two layers. Layer three, it's contract strength. Now, the question is, what is that is protecting future revenue? Subscription, service agreements, retainers, multi-year commitments.
Right.
Why am I introducing this layer? Because very strong contracts convert uncertainty into visibility. And this is why contract management is part of your commercial business success.
Right.
So you want to ensure that the contract will anticipate all the risk. I'll give you an example. I used to work in a construction business where they were using subcontractors, and they were at risk of paying penalties for late deliveries.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you are in that contractual situation and are using subcontractors, you have to transfer that risk to a subcontractor.
Right.
And now you can only do it if your contract is strong, okay? Because the contract will protect the revenue. The layer number 4 is about operational independence. Now, the question is, can the business deliver without the founder being involved?
Right.
That's one question. The other one is, can teams, the technology, and documented processes sustain delivery?
Yeah.
Because that's where the revenue really becomes transferable. And transferability drives valuation. In actual fact, I would really boil it down to two key questions an investor will ask you, and they will drive your valuation. Number one, transferability. Number two, risk. Okay.
Right.
Now, the value transferability will determine the number initially, and then the risk will determine also the potential discount or premium. Let's say
Right.
if your risk profile is negative, obviously there will be a discount.
Right. Right.
If you got a risk asymmetric position where the upside is much higher than the downside, then obviously the valuation will move in the right direction. Let's call it like that. Yeah.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay. So revenue architecture. I sorry. I was very interesting because I made my notes here because it's very interesting what you just said because pretty much you're pulling the curtain in the kitchen of what is going on the side of the investors or the banks or so recurrent architecture investor. What is the exam? 4 things, 4 layers: recurrency, consistency, contract strength, and operational independence. And then is attached to that will be transferability and risk, and these two depends also how is your business discounted, and pretty much how in the transferability is evaluation itself, right? And then you have the counterbalance, which is the risk. So this valuation sustains or not depends on the risk that they are producing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is where it will boil down to a few big things, really.
Yeah.
A few big things. Value transferability is top, absolutely top. That's why founder dependency will switch off the light immediately.
Right.
The investor will run away because, as I say on a number of occasions in our episodes, it's really about the value of your absence. Okay.
Right.
If your absence allow the business, well, if in your absence the business can really thrive, then the value of your absence is phenomenal. I would say,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and let's not forget about the implication of living in an AI-driven economy, because in AI-driven
Yeah.
economies, the absence of documentation will create a bigger discount.
Right. Right.
So, because what that will do, that will tell the investor that your business is not transferable for starter. And secondly, it's not able to scale with AI while the competitors will do it.
Yeah.
So that's another angle of observation
Yeah.
where founder-centric business, they are going to have more and more problems.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely yes. Actually, some people say, well, that AI doesn't affect me because we are metal sheet fabricators, but actually, they are embedded in every portion of the business now. AI. So I think that the big question is how you are going to deploy it, not to replace tasks, but actually to improve your business or to make it linear in those areas that seems to be there are patterns of redundancies. Actually, they are not needed, etc. Anyway, so it's a whole conversation, I think. back in terms of the revenue architecture and design. So if we compare two businesses now, so both, for example, generate £5 million annually, so they have identical revenue. So what we'll see in these two businesses, what investors will see differently from one to the other?
Yeah, you're introducing a concept where financial statements will be absolutely useless when it comes to really looking at the valuation, So let's say two businesses with the same revenue,
Yeah,
but a very different type of valuation.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay, and exactly the same financial statements, which again is the reason why it's fundamental to really express my opinion in with financial profession. Okay, let's say company one,
yeah,
again £5 million annually. The founder closes every sale. The projects are custom built. The revenue arrives unpredictably. Delivery depends heavily on one person. The investors may value that business at optimistically 3 to 4 times earning, but sometimes even less, I would say.
right.
Yeah. Let's compare now with the company number two, exactly the same revenue. Now, this company has got offers that are very clear, recurring revenue. The contracts are structured. There are documented delivery systems. There are independent teams. Now, the investor may value that same revenue stream as 7 to 10 times earning. So eventually,
Right.
the same business, well, with the business with the same revenue, but with better value transferability, may be worth between 3 to 5 times more, even with
Right.
the same revenue. Okay.
Right. Right.
And the revenue is identical, but what changes is really the architecture. How do you architect your business while the revenue is the same? Is just going to change a completely different type of value, a completely different type of wealth creation as well.
Right. So, right, perfect. Thank you for the example, because we start to see the difference between one and the other. All what we were explaining now with a practical example, and I think that this completes the what we mentioned at the beginning, the stage one of the high valuation code, because fundability, meaning getting funds, ultimately rests on three pillars: compelling value proposition, a visible intellectual property, and a trusted revenue architecture, as we mentioned, with these 4 layers and the two associated questions. So without those three foundations, probably investors remain cautious, right? So they see this, and actually they scan through these frameworks, and if we don't see this, we need to take this more calmly, if you may, or just say no interested.
Yeah, exactly. You said it right, absolutely, Francisco. And once those elements are in place, something really crucial happens. The business begins to pass the first investor screen. So you are now accepted to an investor, to a bank as
Right,
well. But a second question immediately emerges. Can the organization function without its founder,
right,
which is at the core of that very big question? Can you transfer value after you have design and describe what you own? Yeah.
right,
And so that leads directly into the next phase of the journey. First, we need to define what do you own.
right,
Then we define can it transfer value. And then when we pass that, we can go to the bigger question is can it scale?
right. So I think that this brings back to the stage two, where we spoke about leadership, governance, and trust. The factors that probably determine whether a business can scale beyond the founder, right?
Yeah, and we will begin with one of the most important conversation any entrepreneur can have, we decided to call it Founder Dependency Detox.
Right.
I know it's a bit of a detox is like a yeah, it's like a disease,
But it's
isn't it? You
true,
know?
actually. We have to recognize that it's true, because sometimes it's like it's not like a toxic relationship, but actually it is highly dependent on something that actually that doesn't help the organization, neither the owner, neither the banks or the investors. So, but detox, I think, is a good word.
Yeah, detox. I say because this is where yeah, we need to be quite strong with the message because
Yeah,
a change of identity is really needed here.
yeah,
Um, when you start a business, control makes everything possible.
right,
But at the moment you're going to scale it, control is what makes scaling impossible and what makes
right,
the business not transferable effectively. Because growth becomes dangerous when the founder remains the bottleneck. I know that in the book, I have designed a bottleneck map as well. So you'll be able to see as well the different types of bottleneck maps that exist.
right,
The larger the company becomes, the greater the risk.
right,
That's why the founder dependency detox is the issue. And obviously, everyone knows about this. The banks will know about this. The investor will know about this. The customer will know about this. It's really fundamental that the business makes that transition.
right, right. Okay, excellent. So I think that we can start to put all these pieces together. So the transformation, if you may, looks like this. So from the founder effort to organization capability, from personality to processes, from dependencies to scalability, and that transaction or transition, sorry, is where valuation accelerates.
Yeah, and that's why we put together this sprint, this journey, this transformational journey
Mm,
for
mm,
businesses, which you can undertake in just 49 days, is called the High Valuation Sprint.
right,
Um, in the post, you will find a scorecard that you will be able to complete. The scorecard will be able to assess your position of your business position against those 12 scorecard, this 12 outcomes, sorry. So each
right,
outcome will be scored between 1 and 5.
right.
And for each outcome, you know exactly where you stand, whether
Yeah,
you are going, we are already in an advanced position against the investor, the banks, or the customer, or whether you need really to do better on that
right,
particular situation. So I would highly encourage you to take on the scorecard. It's free. There will be also a free diagnostic that you will
right.
receive. The diagnostic will tell you really will already be in itself worth thousands of pounds or dollars
Yeah,
really, because it will tell you your position. Um, yeah, and I wanted to summarize also today's episode.
yeah,
I wanted to say the revenue that investor discounts, what are they? They are revenues that are founder dependent, they are project driven, they are informal, they are relationship based. But revenue that investors will reward are system led, they are repeatable, they are contract backed, they are independent of individual. That distinction is really what separates an ordinary business from a high value business.
right. Okay, excellent. So I think it's a perfect summarization to complete today's episode, to finish it. So remember, this is a Fail, Pivot, Scale. You can get the book in Amazon. This is one of the central themes that Matteo is exploring in the book, and inside the high valuation cohort too, where you as a founder learn how to engineer business that attract customers, and lenders and investors all at the same time, simultaneously, because all these elements are put together very clear and ready to answer all these questions before even the questions arises. Any last word, Matteo, or we're happy to wrap up today?
I mean, I would conclude this by saying today we completed stage 1 of the high valuation code,
Right.
fundability and value foundation. And next week we begin stage 2, founder dependency detox. I would say this: a business cannot achieve premium valuation when it remains dependent on one individual. Yes, and I would like to welcome everyone. Join us every Wednesday. Thank you so much for all the comments you given us, all the calls I got, WhatsApp messages, LinkedIn direct messages. It really helps us to move forward. It's 1:30 London time right here on LinkedIn and YouTube as well, and Substack you will find as well. So feel free to, whichever platform you're watching this from, write your comments and send us a message. I would say this: evaluation is something you engineer, you design. It's not something you just create by chance. It's created by design, really. That's the way I would say I would conclude for today.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.